going to be the anchor when it's all said and done. George.
Oh my! Look out below!
George getting into the act.
You gotta like that one.
Spread. George going to cross over. Harrell avoids the pump fake, but George is equal to the challenge. Wow! Great shot by George.
Points in a 104-81 loss. George feeling good. Gets around his defender. Oh, he had him backpedaling. And
Look, foul line down this guy. Who can stop this guy in the slip?
Paul George with a lot of sauce and sizzle.
George crossing over, kind of putting on a clinic, then he steps back, and he scores over Barnes.
They're in transition.
Boy, Michael, they must have hurt you a couple of minutes ago. I think that you said, what, pick up the pace?
Absolutely. Pick up the pace.
And George by himself.
George.
How about the handle? Cradles the ball to the rim, counted it.
Shooting. It could happen. George, a step away three. On cue, 69-40.
Adams clears some space, Lamb falls down, George backs up behind the three-point line. Cool, calm, and collected, and counted.
Two-man game with Zubats. Calls his own number. Gets to the rim with a right hand and lays it in.
George with a hand in his face. That's a three. Paul George from behind George. This feels like George is trying to put together a monster game right now, and all arrows pointing toward PG-13. With the good.
What the Thunder has done tonight, they've denied the drive. Oh, that's a pretty fancy drive.
Let me show you this first of all. Is this PG-13?
And another steal and deflection by Paul George. And a step back right into the grill of KD.
Well, they're playing their game. This is their pace. They'll keep this up for the full 48 minutes.
Oh, Paul George hit him with the sauce.
Get high percentage moves.
Going to get some help here from Paul George working against James.
Good defense by LeBron.
Throws it up. It's been that type of day.
Turnovers, 16 as assists, but they've only given up 7 points off of them. What a move by George.
An historical run.
George dances. Paul George to the Thunder. C.J. McCollum so dangerous on the offensive end. George, a series of moves. Oh my, Paul George.
The shot.
Now George drives on James inside with a left hand.
Goes to a strong finish. Again, they're attacking. Paul does a nice job. He beats James. You see Thompson come over.
That's usually a pitfall when a rookie is dominating the way that Mitchell had during parts of this season. George, he's got it.
I'm the Pacers. I don't care who they put on. I just take my nice shake him up, Paul. Way to shake him up.
He makes it a 2-point game, 84-82.
George stops on a dime, mid-range shot and root, and he knocks. Team that is playing free and has a ton of confidence. What a strong drive by Paul George.
It's a rebound by George. Tough step back three. Splashes home for Paul George. Much needed. His first
workout in July. It's worked out perfectly here in February, and the Clippers are stacked for a nice little run as Paul George knocks down a little.
Shot clock at 6. George, step back three. Bang! Paul George from downtown, and the Clippers take an 8-point lead.
Oklahoma City is #1 in isolation. Crossover by George.
Oh, beautiful.
Wow. Abrinas.
Look at this move here by Paul George.
So
Crossover.
George spins and floats it up and in.
And he's still in attack mode. I love that because you know he can shoot the three.
18 points a game in these playoffs. He'll dance and drive in the collision, and he gets the 2, and he will go to the line.
How about the pity-pat handle right here by PG-13?
I like that, all 5 to the glass.
George again. This time, speaking of getting to the glass, doing everything for the Thunder, and he opens up this fourth quarter.
Thunder have really locked off everybody else. What kind of dribble was that?
What a play. What a play. And one. Cherry on top. Gasol over the top. Adams scores, and he's fouled.
George down the lane, bullies his way to the cup and lays it in. Paul George with 17. The Clippers trail by.
George fires up the 2.
They're not going to use it. George with 5. George drives over Gobert. It's good with 0.8 of a second left to give the Thunder a 1-point lead. Timeout, Utah.
There's a truck, and they make the call. George. Oh, my goodness. Paul George bouncing off of Isaac.
Unbelievable right here.
Here's that missed shot to Adams. As you said before, the guy who best knows that ball's not going in is the free throw shooter, and it turns into the 3-ball for George.
George. O'Neal goes down. George. Oh, he's not human!
Harassed here by O'Neal. He hits the deck.
In this fourth quarter, Paul George stops, fades, fires, and fills it up. 24 for Paul George.
First 29. George. Oh, what a pretty move out.
Transition period. Going with the youth movement as George has Cornette out of the perimeter. Pulls up for the mid-range, and that is good.
George for 3. Paul George.
George, but he maintains the dribble. Creating space for 3. 6 threes for Paul George.
But I don't think you could say, Brian, that this Clipper roster can't play fast and win. I think they.
Oh, here's Paul George
Down the lane.
Split that up and really split them good.
The Mavericks have misfired their last 3 times down the floor. Westbrook Euro stepping into the lane and scoring.
That's just PG at his best. This is the Russell Westbrook birthday dance. Little bit Euro step.
A 7-point game.
Paul George banks it home as the shot clock makes to catch up.
And once again, you got 4 guys, all white shirts, game tackling the rebound, as you said.
Strong finish for Adams.
But this is what he wanted to do. Well, this is not what he wanted to do right here. This is just a tough.
Very happy to have him back. Paul George, saloon doors, a pair of defenders, and throws it down with a couple of hands.
Rated PG, but it was worth all 2 of these. Paul George to the pick.
Harden switches over. There's George on a fadeaway 3. Yes.
Oh, man.
That paid off for the Clippers.
Oh, my.
Staying aggressive. You miss some shots. Continue to compete.
Nice feed by Paul George. Zubats.
Nicholas Batum in the middle. It goes off for George. Works on Davis, and a short shot is up.
George showing off the handles and then shows off the touch.
In transition early for your team.
George cradles the ball down the lane, down the hatchet goes for Paul George. And save it to Patrick Patterson. There's George, last time in this arena, scored 46 points.
Off to a pretty good. Funny you say that. I mean, you got 3 guys that are motivated to really come out here and play well today.
The step away from Paul George.
Paul George hesitated, now gets inside, goes right at Porzingis. Tough shot from Paul. Paul George finds room and the foul.
Stronger than you think. Yeah, it just goes.
George, runs through a pair of defenders like they're saloon doors in a Western and lays it home.
Look at Paul George right here. Comes down, snakes the pick and roll, slides through it.